January 7th, 2014, 12 p.m. Could we have a roll call, Bev, please?
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp? Rexvinkel?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Erke?
Yes.
I, first of all, would like to welcome Clark Goodchild, our new city council member, to the program here, Clark, and wish you well.
Thank you. Motion to approve agenda?
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to welcome everybody in the chamber today, and Bennett from the Lamar's Daily Sentinel, and especially you people that are watching over television at home. We welcome you to our meeting. General discussion. If we have any general discussion topics, we ask that you step to the microphone, state your name and address, and the council cannot make any decisions on it, but they're certainly always willing to listen to what you have to offer, whether it be concerns or comments or anything. Do we have anybody on general discussion today? If not, we'll move right on. Thumbs up award, John?
Thumbs up to Public Works. We've had a lot of wind and a lot of cold and just a little bit of snow, and I think they've done a nice job of keeping the streets clean as best they can with the wind and keeping the intersections safe.
Good. Clark, do you have anything on thumbs up?
Nothing today.
Okay.
Nothing
Alana?
today.
No,
Ken?
thank you.
I do have, I want to thumbs up to not only the Public Works, but especially our water department. Last Thursday, or Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, they had a busted main, of course, and worked into roughly 11:30 when they got it finished that night, but the water was a-flowing, and it was cold and windy, and our fire department stepped right up to the plate, and shows a good sign of teamwork for our town here, so thumbs up to those people. The consent items, excuse me, all items listed under consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on those items unless a request is made prior to the time the council votes on the motion. Today, we've got 7 of them. The first one is approval of December 17th, 2000 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of the bills for period ending 12/31/13. Number 3 is a designation of official newspaper for 2014. Number 4 is an appointment. Number 5 is commercial solid waste collection licenses. Number 6 is a renewal of our liquor license and outdoor service area for the golf course. And number 7 is the urban revitalization tax exemption requests. Is there any,
I just wanted to make a
Questions?
quick comment on 7, the urban revitalization tax exemption request. I was very pleased to see that we had something besides just new construction on there, actually several of them.
I noticed that too.
Because part of the purpose of that is to revitalize existing properties, and that appears to be happening now, so.
Thank you, Delano. Truthfully, that program is working well, since we worked hard on it for about 2 years to get something organized on it, and we finally got it done, and thanks to you council members for going along with it.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 7?
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve consent items 1 through 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to action items, which is D1, the Floyd River Stabilization Project. Bolton and Mink has prepared the technical specifications for the Floyd River Bank Stabilization Project, and bids were received and opened on January 3rd, 2014, and will be, there'll be a representative available at the meeting, which is Mike Freer. I see you're here, Mike. Thanks a lot. IDNR has issued a permit to work on the floodway. The remaining schedules as follows. On January 7th, which is today, council to review and award bids to the lowest approved bidder or table of consideration. The financial impact is 100% local funding, of which the Airport Fund, Improvement Fund, and the Joint Urban Renewal, or the TIF, for the reimbursement. And do you have any questions, or Mike, would you like to share with it, or Matt, would you like to share with us?
I would definitely answer any questions. I would say we did have 17 plan holders on this, which is pretty exceptional. And we did have 10 bidders, which is, it's been a long time since we've seen that many bidders on a project. So Very good response.
What was Bolton and Mink's estimate?
Our estimate was on 168,000.
I really like it when you're that far off in the right direction.
So do I.
So do I.
So the bid, you know, just kind of glancing through, this basically takes the project from start to completion. There's no public works involvement.
Correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
And they're providing all the riprap and,
This includes, it's all inclusive. It's all the labor, materials. We do have a completion date that is done before seeding dates are open up. So we will allow the contractor to come back once the state of Iowa has opened up seeding dates to plant grass and keep it from eroding and washing back out again.
How far off is that between completion and seeding?
The dates, they fluctuate a little bit. It's roughly about 6 weeks.
Okay.
We'll be done by April 1st as a late completion date. My understanding, this contractor estimates about a week's worth of work,
Okay.
and they're ready to start now, so,
Okay.
this is Nelson and Rock?
correct.
That was quite a difference on that bid. It was 82,075 versus 168,000.
That's pretty
So
remarkable.
your estimate was about twice as,
Yes, and we use our industry standards when we go through and bid a project like this. We estimate our prices off of what we've seen for riprap prices.
I'll ask the question that Rex always asks, is this a unit price, and can we buy extra riffraff to have on hand for other things we might need?
It is a unit price bid, correct.
This is all local money that's paying for this, correct? So
yeah,
we're not obligated to take the lowest bid, correct?
I believe state law or the state code will require you to take the lowest bid unless you have an exceptional reason to not accept the low bidder.
Is this, yeah, being the new guy on the block, this may seem like a strange question, but is there any value in looking at the second lowest bid because of its location and its residence in Plymouth County? You know, the dollars are absolutely neck and neck.
$400 and some dollars difference.
We're $300 and some dollars off, $375 off. And if we could award it to a local company that has the same credentials, the same track record, I tell you what, guys, for $300, $350, I'd be interested in looking at that. And it was my understanding that if it's local dollars being spent, we're not under obligation to dance through the hoops of other money. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're still required to follow the Iowa code. There is some justification to hiring a local contractor. We have done it in the past. I typically refer that to the city attorney,
Okay.
just to make sure the letter of the law is met.
It would be the lowest responsible bid, and I guess I have no reason to believe that Nelson wouldn't be a responsible contractor.
and I think as long as they're a responsible bidder, I think we owe it to the taxpayers of the city to pick the lowest.
I think it also, the fact that we got good bids, we certainly don't want to screw that up with somebody saying, well, I'm not going to bid because they're going to take somebody local, so. It's a good suggestion, but this one area, I don't think, I want to mess up.
I make a motion approving resolution number 14-1, awarding the contract for the Floyd River Bank Stabilization Project for the Lamar's Municipal Airport to Nelson Rock and Contracting, Inc. in the amount of $82,075.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Motion been made and second, approving the resolution, number 14-1, awarding the contract for the Floyd River Bank Stabilization Project for the Lamar's Municipal Airport to Nelson and Rock Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $82,075. Can we have a roll call on this, Beth?
Erky,
Yes.
Goodchild,
Yes.
Rexsinkel.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion passed. I know that this Nelson and Rock, I'm not personally familiar with them, but you've checked them out. I mean,
Yes.
they're very reputable bidders, I
Yes.
understand it, and I talked to Bill about it, and he knows them, so,
Yep. We did some research on them. They have done similar type projects.
Okay.
And have done it successfully.
thanks a lot, Matt, for your help and for being here today, and
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay, moving on to D2, which is Economic Export Corridor. The city and county are requesting the Iowa Department of Transportation establish an economic export corridor which allows transporting vehicles that are not currently allowed under the current Iowa code. Each of the local roads have both city and county ownership at various locations along the route. Therefore, both city and county need to authorize the corridor. The resolution is attached. The financial impact of this program, there's no cost to the city and there's no cost to the county. What it really does, it's cutting expenses to our local industries for exporting their products. And been a little bit involved in this, and where it is coming from is our industries as we build our growth, economic development program here in Lamar's. There's times, in essence, when, in this particular case, it's not a weight factor, it's an length factor on some machinery that they're moving in and out, and so consequently, I think it's a benefit down the road, especially figuring down the road for our industries, of moving their manufactured products in and out to be legal and go along with it.
I don't have an issue with it, but it does beg the question of what transporting vehicles are not currently allowed under Iowa code.
Overweight, over length in this case,
Mm-hmm.
instance like that, you have to have a special.
And we don't already have that in place. I mean, I've seen the windmill turbines go through town. I don't know of anything that's a whole lot longer than
I think
that.
this is tandem pulling, isn't it, Dick?
It'd be
Yeah.
double trailers.
This is
Okay.
double,
These
this is
are
double trailers,
is
right?
what it is,
Right.
yeah, they're,
They're gonna be,
Sounds like way too much regulation, but let's do a motion adopting Resolution 14-2 to establish an economic export corridor to facilitate the movement of goods manufactured in Iowa to or through states adjoining Iowa.
second?
Could I ask a question
Certainly.
before that? Does this restrict to strictly state and county highways and does not involve city streets? Is there a restriction for traffic within the cities, or?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There's restrictions on it, and what this actually does, it enhances the movement of freight by allowing vehicles that are currently not allowed under Iowa code. It improves the efficiencies of businesses by cutting expense to our local industries for exporting products, thereby allowing businesses to expand and grow, which I just shared with you. The route needs to be designated on roads that are not on the National Highway System classification.
Okay.
And that's the key right there, National Highway System classification. And by running these routes, and the meetings, the meeting I was involved with, but running these routes, this will allow us, if we approve this resolution and the county approves it, it allows us to meet the codes of what the Iowa is and follow through.
Iowa 3 already allows these trailers, is that correct? To come through the city?
I don't think so. I think it's
No.
a,
No.
it's a corridor, a certain amount,
Neil?
minimum distance.
Was you involved in these?
Neil or Jason?
Or Jason, either one, I don't care.
No, I wasn't, no. I was just going to answer a little bit to what Ken asked. Each year, contractors, haulers, they call, and I issue permits to them to haul their equipment on city streets.
Okay. I don't have a problem with the program, I just wanted to be
Yeah,
clear in my head.
And the DOT requires that they get one from the local government, even if they're just passing through town.
Okay,
I mean, so they gotta get a city one, they gotta get permit from the city, the county, and the state.
so you're aware of these special permits on a regular basis anyhow? This won't be special, this will be,
No, yeah.
thank you, Jason.
too many questions, Neil, on?
No, just if you had any further questions, 'cause
Okay.
I was involved in all the meetings, yes.
You were,
And just so you know, that the county supervisors did pass their resolution this
did
morning.
they pass it this
Yes,
morning?
they did.
Okay.
Great.
And just out of curiosity, on the route, is the second to the last bullet down there at the bottom, is that a typo, or do we go northeast out of Akron? I know that Highway 12 dog legs in Akron, but I don't know if it's a big deal, but is that correct?
That is correct, and
Because it does
and
dog
in the
legs.
city of Akron, they are already approved,
Okay,
this route.
okay.
To go across in South Dakota.
Okay.
The city itself, so they don't have to sign a resolution because they've already got one.
All right.
Yeah, the
And-
state several years ago created border communities where some of these restrictions are lifted, and Akron is one of those border communities. So the mayor is absolutely correct. They don't need to pass this resolution.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions? I believe there's a motion made and second. All those, we have to vote on that?
Yep.
Roll call.
Nelson,
Yes.
Rexvinkel,
Yes.
Perky.
Yes.
Goodchild.
Yes.
Motion passed. Good questions. Number 3, the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Consulting Agreement. Request for qualifications of an architect and engineering services for the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Project were due Friday, December 13th, 2013. City received 4 from Cannon, Moss and Bygert, Frank Design Group, FEH, and M+. Interviews were conducted December 18th with Cannon, Moss, and Bigger and Associates, and on December 23rd with Frank's Design Group. The interview committee made up of 7 people, which consisted of 4 city people, 2 historic preservation personnel, and 1 Simcoe. Unanimously selected Frank's Design Group based on their qualifications. The interview committee recommends Frank's Design Group, PC. The financial impact of this is the CDBG grant awarded the city of Lamar's $500,000. The city has agreed to, out of lost match funds of $250,000, and the property owner's match is $250,000, for a total of $1 million. Today, what we're doing is we were just asking for the approval of hiring Frank's Design Group, or designating them as the contractor. Am I right, Bill?
As the architect.
Or, excuse me, as the architect for this project.
Does it say we're authorizing this committee to negotiate with them?
Right.
And then it comes back to this
Right, it'll come
council?
back to this committee or this council at the next council meeting to approve a contract if we reach a negotiation.
Okay. Bill, could you kind of outline how this would work?
Sure.
Assuming that everything's fine, we work with Frank's Design, how does it all lay out? How do our property owners work with them? What are we hoping to accomplish, and what Frank's Design will provide for input?
Okay. I think you're all aware that we applied for this grant back probably about a year ago. And at that time, Mary Reynolds and some other people went around to the property owners and discussed the concept of what it could be, what it might be. And in front of you, you have a list of 40 businesses that were interested at that point and signed a form stating that, yes, they were interested in doing something to their building. At that point, Scott and Mary went around and looked at each building, did a list of possible improvements for those buildings, and shared that with the property owners. That was probably back in last April. We're now at the point where we've been awarded the money, the funding is there, we're ready to proceed with the project. So what we did is, the committee interviewed 2 of the 4 architect candidates, and we felt that Frank's Design had the best proposal. Historically, they've done this type of project at several Iowa cities. They had a good track record. We did check their references. We did talk to other people in other towns where it was done. That was the basis for recommending Frank's. Peter Franks came and did the presentation himself. What happens at this point is we've now sent notices out to all 40 property owners showing what was projected to be done to their building, showing what that estimated cost was, and showing what their share was. The property owner's share is 25% of whatever the total cost is for their building. We did ask for a 1/4 deposit on that so that we could help fund the cost of the architect, because we're going to have to pay the architect before any work is done. The architect, once we've negotiated a contract, will then come to Lamar's and meet with each of these property owners individually, go through what was initially done, see if that's what they want done, if something different wants done, and they'll come to a consensus of what each building should have done to it. At that point, the architect will put together a package showing exactly what's going to happen to all 40 buildings if everybody participates. That will go to the state. Usually takes the state about 6 weeks to give final approval. Once we have that final approval, it will then be sent out for bids for a contractor to take on the whole project. That bid will then come back. Each property owner will then have the opportunity to look at the bid, look at what's going to be done to their building, and decide if they want to proceed at that point. If they don't feel it's cost justified, if they aren't able to do it at that point, they still have the option to back out. They would lose their initial deposit, but they could back out of the program. But
So what's the timetable for the deposit?
the deposit, we've talked to all the property owners and sent them all the documentation, which includes an easement, because we can only work on the first 18 inches of any building. So it's the windows, the doors, the facade. So we've sent that out. We have to have those documents signed and back to us with a deposit check by January 15th, which will be before your next council meeting. So in this 2-week period, we're going to be meeting with Peter Franks, if that's who you decide to go with, and hopefully negotiate a contract. So at the next council meeting, we'll have a contract to be approved, and things will proceed from there. We want to finish all 40 buildings in calendar year 2014. So that's the goal. It's actually could be a 2 to 3 year project, but we believe that it can be done in calendar year 2014. Mr. Franks also believes that.
Because a lot of it's tuck pointing and
Yes.
something
A
that
lot
they
of it's
can work
similar.
from one
Yep.
building to the
Yes.
next on.
I understand that we want to move it along, but does it create any issues for the property owners putting the deposit down before they've had a chance to discuss in some detail with Frank's Design the project to be undertaken?
What we've done as far as the deposit, again, without having Franks under contract, we can't have him actually performing a service because we aren't
Understand.
paying him. We did give each property owner the detail of what we anticipate will be done to his building, his or her building, and that's what they're basing it off. And we are going with that. And they risk their deposit is what they risk.
Which is 25% of
Of the
25% of their
It's
building.
1/4 of the 25% total.
Now, if, say, for whatever reason, they chose not to or weren't able to financially go through with it once they got the final rendering and everything from the architect, since they've essentially forfeited their deposit, would they be able to keep a copy of what was planned for that building so that down the road, 5 years or
I would say
something?
absolutely. I mean, it becomes a public document, so I would think they would be able to do that.
So then they would at least have
would
access,
have
so they
that.
aren't out
Yes.
without anything. They would at
Yes.
least have, here's something that could happen in the future.
Yes.
What reasonable degree of confidence is there in these estimates? I mean, would we assume hopefully they're high?
Again,
I hate to see it,
they
come
are
in
an
and then
engineer's
double or
estimate.
something for somebody.
But they do have the right to change what gets done over the course of the next couple of months as the architect meets with them, so.
But the deposit is still,
John's
Yes,
John's
positive.
question, John and I and Rex were on the council when we did the redoing of the uptown area some years ago. And the thing kind of spun out of control. And there was a lot of dissatisfaction. A lot of part of the project never got funded and finished. And if I recall, toward the end, we used sales tax dollars to bail out the work that we were doing. So I hope that this committee is not just recommending a name, that we have an active committee that will stay involved with this as the project goes forward. So if any of these things start to spin out of control, we're well aware of it before they come back and need more revenue or a different source of money.
I guess I'm concerned that I don't want to send any property owners or discourage any property owners because of the jeopardization of a deposit they make. And, January 15th is pretty early, being we don't even have Frank's Design on board yet, and will not until at least January 21.
Well, there has
But
been
he-
a lengthy process
Right.
with the building owners up to this point as well. I mean,
So
they've
you believe
attended
they're all
meetings,
pretty com-
Rich was involved in that. Do you want to share a little bit of what's gone in the past? Sorry, I put you on the spot, but there's been a lengthy process through the committee even before it got to the point in the planning stages of the grant.
Yeah, and I wasn't involved in all those, but just a little bit familiar with it. But yeah, there was meetings with the property owners that kind of went through the work that was being proposed to be done. I think Scott did a lot of the estimating for it. So they've been involved. There was a meeting with Simcoe here a couple months ago that, with the property owners, just to kick off and let them see the calendar and the schedule of the event. So they've been kept informed all the way through, and I would agree. I think the committee that's recommending this needs to stay very actively involved.
Okay, so
Have you heard any hesitation from the property owners at this stage, or not yet?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
can tell you
don't-
what we did is we divided up the list among 5 or 6 of us. So each of us had half a dozen property owners to call. I have talked to all of my property owners, and they are all still interested. Yes, there was concern about the deposit, but the deposit is, in most cases, $1,000 to $2,000. They're getting the opportunity to have a major increase, a major remodeling of the front of their buildings. It's very valuable to them at a quarter of the cost. So the deposit is, we're looking at having to pay an architect around $100,000 is what we're looking at. If everybody pays their quarter of their deposit, or their quarter of their total cost up front, that will only raise part of the money. The city will still be expending the balance of the funds to hire the architect.
So we haven't heard any concerns, generally concerns from property owners regarding the estimates?
Not the 6 I've talked to. They,
I guess if I might come in as a
property owner?
property owner, and I talked to the mayor, phoned me on this, I don't have a concern with the down payment. One of the concerns I have with my building is the extent of the project. I fully agree with the awnings and some of that, but the project on my building includes redoing all the windows on the first floor, which really doesn't make sense, given the age of my windows and things like that. And so I'm willing to go ahead with the project, but I'm hoping that I can modify the project down the way to exclude the windows on my building.
that is absolutely the case. It can be modified. The city is out of it once we hire an architect as far as determining what's going to happen. That'll be between you and the architect sitting down and determining what should happen to your building, what you want to see, what he recommends. He can give you some drawings of what it might look like with different scenarios.
And an owner scaling back might allow more money for somebody that wants to do
Possibly.
additional work.
And we do have at least a couple of other businesses that didn't get in initially that are interested in doing it, should there be extra funds available.
Yeah, because I'm curious about this deposit, the 25% of their 100% or 20.
Right.
Okay. You opened your own, so Joe's building's got 2 sides. It's got quite a bit of
Yep.
footage versus a building that's just a storefront. Maybe, I don't want to pick on anybody, but maybe a shoe store that's got just as much. Is there already a predetermined total cost so that shoe store would pay a lot less deposit than Joe would because of the size of his project versus?
Right, whatever your project is, each project has a different value assigned to it based on the repair, based on the estimate. That you will pay 25%, property owner will pay 25% of whatever the cost of their building is. And right now, we're just getting a deposit, which is 1/4 of that 25.
I understand that, but how are you determining what their 25% is if you don't have a program, a project?
We have, every property has a data sheet showing what's going to be done to it and what the estimated
What
cost
the
is.
total cost
All right.
of that particular one, Clark.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah, there's
And then
a
it's
separate
broke
sheet on
down.
each project. And that's been
City
shared with.
pays.
So there's been a lot of work.
Been a lot of
Oh,
hours
yeah.
put into it,
There's
yes.
been a lot of work.
So everybody needs to remember that before a building is touched, before anybody lays a finger on a building, it is 100% the building owner. They can decide if The list that they got sent to them, and the list that the architect's gonna generate, along with those costs, they have 100% say in what gets done. So if they have a list of 5 things and it's gonna cost $10,000, their 25% is $10,000. They put down $2,500 for 25% of that now. And through all this process, they scale it back and say, well, I only want to do this item that is worth $3,000. Well, they've already got $2,500 of it paid for, so they only have to pay $500 more. So they have 100% control of what gets done to that building.
So before in Joe's case, and Joe and I didn't talk about this at all before the meeting, but in Joe's case, if he decides he doesn't want those windows,
Entirely up to him.
he can base his deposit on not including the windows.
Yep. Well,
No, not the deposit.
no.
No.
The
The deposit has to be
25% of the
based on-
25%
Okay.
is based on these initial estimates that they got.
Okay.
What he'd have left to owe and what actually got
What
done
he would
be
have
less.
left to pay,
Yes.
Yeah.
it still could change, but it's never going to be, and they always have the final say, so.
But they've all seen those estimates. That's why I was
Yes.
wondering if we'd had any concerns, complaints, anything come up already, and it doesn't
No,
sound
I
like we
didn't.
have.
I've had a couple of them, they've got some questions,
Right.
but I think Jason just answered it a minute ago. That owner has 100% control of that building. If that architect guy comes in and says, say the owner says, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Take Joe's case. He has a full authority to do that. Am I right? And the architect can't overrule him. That answers my question.
Will
My
they
wife
be,
can,
building permits
not the
on
architect.
Well, you and your
Or are
wife get
we
along pretty good though,
building
Joe, I know that.
As far as building permits,
You're
Ken.
still driving that bus,
No,
ain't you?
just as we've always done. I mean, unless they're adding square footage to a building, and we're not going to be in this case, there'd be no building permit. But I'll be involved.
Oh, I hope so.
I think the whole committee will be very, very active and very involved with the process. We've got Simco representatives,
Yeah.
Main Street, Historical, City.
I was concerned, and I think a lot of the people that I called on, or some of the people that I called on, was that they didn't have that full authority to put in what they wanted to, or take out what they wanted to, or it had to be a specific design. But according to you, it's not that way.
Might have to address that some more, though. Yeah,
I want to make sure
well, you
it's clean when
mentioned
we
a
get out of here.
specific design. Once these architects' renderings are done, those get sent Des Moines, right? For them to approve.
Right.
Okay? They can't, if it calls for, let's just use a certain color, brown, the owner can't say, well, I want to do that, but I want the thing neon green. That's not gonna,
Okay, but going back to Joe's case, if you don't want those big windows in there, you don't have to put them in, right?
correct. They're gonna try to get them, I mean, they're gonna have historical significance, so if the architect says, well, this type of window here meets what was used at the time, and Joe turns around and says, well, I don't want those windows because they cost X amount of money, I want some little window put in, that's not gonna work either.
So then
I mean,
you
it's gotta
lose the
stay-
deposit.
Yeah,
If you just say, then I want out of the or I want out of the program.
you can back out up until the time, what is it, the contractor starts working on the building.
Right, right.
But he still loses his deposit.
Yeah. The deposit or any, I mean, the way it's written, I mean, or what was sent to them is we're asking for the 25 of the 25. And up until the time that work actually starts, they can continue to pay up to that limit if they want. So anything that they've contributed or paid towards it, they won't get back.
How many buildings or businesses downtown are not on this list?
Boy, I don't know.
I mean, we got 41
We've always
here.
gone by the 40 that, we haven't had another number.
And there were some that aren't on the list, I know, that already went through the facade program, and so they've already done
For instance,
a lot of.
Pizza Ranch. I mean, that's just an example, but they're not on the list.
Yeah, and Pizza Ranch did an extensive rehab, what, 3, 4
3
years?
years
ago?
ago.
Okay, I mean, I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm noticing a few absent
Yep.
businesses, and I'm just curious as to if they said, forget it, want nothing to do
And
with
we
it.
did have a facade program that went for several years. It was, we gave 25,000 per year, so
Right.
a lot of the storefronts did get
Okay.
some work done.
Okay,
It's a pretty high percent, I think.
okay.
The other thing, question I got, Jason, and that is, you know, so the property owner has the opportunity to talk to the architect first, and they reach an agreement. What happens if these bids come in and it's way out of line? Does he still have the option?
Like way
of-
over?
Of redoing some of that?
The bids from the contractor?
That's why I was asking about how reliable do we think the estimates are?
I
mean, if
can't
it's a
imagine it'd be
little
any,
high, it's-
I can't imagine it'd be any different than what you just did with that riverbank stabilization. If those came in way over, I'm assuming since you're the one that has to hire the contractor and approve of the contract, you could reject them all.
But I
And then
think
I'm
the
assuming they
mayor's-
would have to go
But the
back
ma-
out to bid.
But what the mayor's saying is they'd still be out there deposit.
I mean, if you so choose to accept, say,
Architect's work's done.
if you choose to accept that high bid, I mean, it's still up to that business owner or that property owner to say that is, just like we were talking about, that's way too high for me, and I will not
But
do
then
it
does he
anymore.
have the opportunity to,
Yeah, the way I understand it, Dick, is until a contractor, we can hire the contractor, up until the time the contractor actually starts working on the building, they can back out.
or make changes?
Yeah, it might slow down the process of their building getting done if they,
Understand that.
I would think the type of work that they're doing, it was pretty predictable.
yeah, if you looked at all those, I mean, estimates were put together, a list was put together for each of those buildings. Throughout all 40 of those buildings, that list doesn't change a whole lot. It's a lot of windows, tuck pointing.
And
I mean,
hopefully to get it
pretty
all done in
basic stuff.
2014, those dollars should stay pretty reliable.
Yeah, and I believe those numbers, if I remember right, those numbers that they got originally, they were generated with the help of contractors who are used to doing
Right.
that type of work.
Okay.
And ultimately, I mean, it's good that we bring this to people's attention, but in essence, this is an opportunity cost for the business owners. They have an opportunity to have some significant work done on their property with a deposit of 25% of the estimated
Exactly.
cost. So nothing in this world happens without risk, at least nothing worthwhile. And so ultimately, it's going to be up to the individual business owners to make their decisions and, go from there. If they decide that it's a risk they're willing to take to get 75% of a project paid for, then they'll choose that. If they choose not to or aren't able to, then that's their decision.
I'd make a motion approving the interview committee recommendation for architect and engineering services for the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Project with Frank's Design Group, PC, and authorizing them to negotiate architect and engineering services to be, an agreement to be considered on January 21, 2014.
Second.
Motion made and second, approving the interview committee recommendation of architect and engineering services for the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Project with Frank's Design Group, PC, and authorizing them to negotiate an architect and engineering services agreement to be considered on January 21st, 2014. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I agree. I think it's a great opportunity, as you mentioned,
Yep.
Deanna, for our businesses here in town, if they want to upgrade their program. I think the question lies is communicating with the architect to see, what's available and what's not. Okay, moving on to action item number 4, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department. The council approved the first reading of the ordinance regarding changes to Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department. Attached is the proposed changes and a copy of the amended ordinance. Staff recommends the changes. We've already had a first reading on this, if I remember right, and this is a motion to approve the second.
Motion approving the second reading of ordinance number 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department.
Second motion.
Motion been made and second, approving the second reading of the ordinance number 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department. Could we have a roll call, Bev?
Rexbenko?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Perky?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion waiving the third reading of ordinance number 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department.
Is there a second?
Second to the motion.
Motion been made and second, waiving the third reading of the ordinance of number 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department. We have a roll call, Bev?
Rexbenko?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Perky?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
We got to do that without a no vote. Motion adopting ordinance number 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department on its second reading.
Second to the motion.
Motion. I could answer that, but I ain't got a motion made and second.
He's in Florida, he can't do it.
Adopting ordinance 917, amending Chapter 36 Fire Rescue Department on second reading. Roll call, Bev?
Rexbenko?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Perky?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion passed. That's great.
Got her through there.
Okay, moving on. Discussion. John,
Nothing, Your Honor.
Clark, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. One thing. I've been thinking about this since I got elected. I would like to see us consider opening council meetings by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Our service clubs do it. Most organizations I belong to, we do it at our hog meetings down in Sioux City. So, I mean, one of our dentist office sponsors a young child to do it on Clem every morning. I think they do it in the grade schools. I think it's something that maybe we've lost in maybe the higher, high schools and stuff. We do it at ball games. I know it's not the pledge, but it's honoring the flag, and I'd like to see us consider doing that.
Okay. Comments? Anybody?
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
Sounds fine to me.
Joe, do we have to do anything to
We'll run
legally?
it by legal, I'll look.
Huh?
We'll run it by legal and I'll look.
There you
All
go.
right. Good enough, that's a good point, though. Right. Yeah. Okay, Delana?
Nothing.
Ken?
Well, I'm going to take an opportunity to brag a little about our Floyd Valley Hospital facilities here. Last week I had a stroke, and I was very glad that we had a hospital in town that could react and get me the attention I needed and get me moved along to a neurologist. And we hit this time when it's a fund drive for our hospital. And I know a lot of people would like to badmouth our hospital and think we ought to have all these big facilities. But boy, when you're in trouble, you're darn glad to have somebody here taking care of you. So again, those people out there that haven't sent in their donations or pledges for the Floyd Valley Hospital expansion, I would encourage you to do so, because someday you might be in the same boat as me, and I'm feeling great, and I think a lot of it's just because I got quick attention, so.
We take a lot for granted when it comes to
Yes, we
health
do.
and public safety, don't we? Anything else?
No, I should comment on the first responders though too, because they're always such a pleasant crew. And other towns that are fighting to get first responders, we have some excellent people on there that do a great job, so.
We do. Thank you. Bill?
I don't have anything other than the reports and things that are underneath here.
And that's the Water Department, and I believe Gail's here. You want to give us a recap, Gail, of how you earned your money this last year?
If you.
Oh, just another year gone by, just another overrun, and it is kind of nice now that you do get your quarterly reports, I believe, of the stuff, because there isn't enough time a day and stuff, and even with the quarterly reports, when you get all 4 of them and stuff done, that you can really announce everything that does get done, you know, in each department here, and, you know, just not the water department, but all of them, so. This is just more of an overview. Again, just one more year added on to our totals. The information of interest is pretty much the same. All the numbers and stuff are there. If you see anything there that you have questions on or anything, feel free to bring those up and I'll answer them, whatever. Otherwise, it pretty much speaks for itself. The average day, I did want to note, was down 300,000 gallons per day from the year before. One note I can, you know, bring up for that is anywhere from 150 to 250,000 a day has been down, mainly since last, if I have these right, from Wells Incorporated. They changed one of their cooling towers to a glycol or a different mixture, so they are using up to 250,000 gallons less a day just for that reason alone. So, I mean, that is one of the reasons and stuff it is down. Other than that, pretty much speaks for itself. If you have, like I said, if you have anything else, or there's projects that you don't see on here that you have questions on, you can, you know, ask now, or just give me a call at any time, and we can go through those, so.
Any questions for
Any
Gil?
questions?
What is the time frame for the last 160 water meters? And, you know, when do we change that rate, but when is it going to be a problem?
When is it going to be a problem is, in April, it's due to be done, is when the 3-year time frame is up. We actually only had the 2 years to get it done the first year. We asked for a 3-year project. We got a 3-year project. By the time we got started, the 1 year was already up, and I'm very proud of the guys that have got everything done. We're down to not much over 200 meters left in homes. We do have a few people that are not letting us in and stuff. Anyway, but things are going good. The only thing that we might be a little bit later on time frame, which we can get the meters and stuff, and I don't believe it's going to be a problem with the DNR or any of the things, is, as you know, some of the big businesses, some of them do have to do some major revamping. I was hoping this winter, when some of them were slower, that we could get some of them done, but they may linger on into this next year, but it's not going to make any difference, I don't believe, on our finalization of everything.
But as far as the reading of the meters and the problems for you, is it a double whammy that you have to read those 200?
No, it's actually worked out pretty good. We are already reading those radio reads now and stuff, and I believe her time frame is less than half already. Just because, I mean, the little bit of a problem that there is, you may have 30 meters in a row that are radio read, and one here and there that you do have to get out, you know, and walk the route to a point, but she doesn't have to stop constantly to get those readings, so we are doing really well in that.
Have you had enough history to know that some of the meters were very inaccurate?
Some of them, we have had, you know, some complaints saying they couldn't use this much water, and what was nice and stuff, we've probably done 7 or 8 reports on these meters that we can go out and get, and it prints out into a report and stuff, and it shows you exactly with the hour by hour how many gallons went through these meters, and it kind of usually traces back to either a softener or something in that order, that, or a sprinkler system that was on and maybe broke a line or something, so when it kicks on, that it's using those waters and stuff during that time frame, so it has helped on that.
We pretty well know when you're done that this is a pretty accurate system now.
It seems to be very accurate, yes, and yes. We have had, just in this last bunch and stuff, a few of the radio heads that we probably had 40 of them now. We went through 2,800 meters before we almost even had one, and they're working on that, getting us the new heads, so we have had about 30 to 40 homes we had to go back into to change just the head on it because the radio mechanism on it was not reading right. But I don't know what the reasoning was. They're looking at that. They're actually going to be doing a study on those when they come and got them, and going to find out what the reading problems was on those and get back to us on those and use that as an example and why, and, you know, more or less in their customer service plan and stuff to make sure that these things don't happen. So that is going on.
Good. Thanks, Gail.
Gail, just a quick question. Progress on our tower, when's that starting, or have you heard any more on that, or?
Thursday is when all of that will be going on. We have a meeting and stuff with McClure's first and stuff, and then actually the pre-construction meeting is Thursday afternoon.
Okay, good, just so I know. Thanks a lot, Gail.
You bet.
You guys are doing a good job. Okay, the last thing on the agenda is the list of fees and charges and license. Did you council members have an opportunity to look through those? Any questions on any of them? Any comments, Bill, that you
So
want?
there's not a whole lot of changes as you look through them, some minor changes, like the 2-day rental at the convention center will have about $25. Our water and sewer rates, they're set by ordinance. We are in the last year, or we will be in the last year of the water rate change, so we'll have to be looking at water rates probably in the next 6 months and determining future years, because 2014 is the last year we have set a rate for. Again, I would just ask each of you to go through those. If you have any questions, if you want any more research or anything on any specific ones, just let us know in the next couple of weeks, because we'll probably be ready to adopt in the next couple of weeks. We will be having budget committee meetings, several of them over the next 2 weeks, so there may be some things that come up with those that we'll need to address. So,
That was my question.
Yeah.
This won't take effect till after we've had all those
Right,
committee meetings.
right.
Okay.
And you'll vote on it at the next council meeting, which will be after all the committee meetings.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.